Welcome to Schmooze with Suze. I'm Suze Montgomery, your host. Long-time old friends. You know, you can't beat that, right? And when you get the opportunity to talk to them and let them be known by a wider circle like you at home, this is kind of a special taping. So I want to welcome Alice and Richard Matzkin from Ojai.
Yeah.
And these people are truly, I guess I'd refer to you guys as remarkable in so many senses. Like, you've got the most marvelous marriage of any two people that I've ever met in my whole life. And I really mean that. That's sincere. You just fit. I don't know how you just fit, but you just fit. How do you make this?
It's my favorite marriage, too.
Well, how did you meet? I never have asked you that. How'd you meet?
Well, I'd been single for 10 years, and at that point, and I went to have dinner with a friend of mine, and Richard was sharing a house with her. And a few days later, we ended up going out, and we sitting in a restaurant for her birthday, and we were sitting next to each other. And I asked him to go out dancing with me the following Friday, and we got in the car and we fell in love on the Santa Monica Freeway between the Lincoln and 5th Street off-ramp.
Oh my God.
And we've been together since that day. Never lived apart after that. And that was 34 years ago.
You're just truly remarkable. You're such, you know, in today's times when, you know, people get married and divorced the next day, it's like, you know, you didn't empty the trash, that's it, I'm done, I'm out of here. But you just fit. It's like seamless. It's like watching one person, like, you're not really two, you're really like one. It's Alice Richard, you know, it's like one word, so.
We always do that, we go, you and me, one.
Exactly.
We always do that.
And you do. Well, let's talk about your work, because both of you are incredible artists and authors, and I mean, you both have such amazing talent. I mean, I went to your websites and I looked at all the stuff that's on there on the web, and I was blown away. I think that one photograph on your page, the opening page to the website, is that your living room with all the paintings?
Yes.
My God, you live in a gallery.
We do.
You really do. So both of your work is represented there. Now, Alice, you paint.
Right.
And and one of the reasons I love both of what you do is you represent something that just doesn't get enough celebration, which is folks like us, old people.
Old people.
Old
yeah.
people. I guess we're old in numbers, but we're not really old, right? You know, because we don't think of ourselves that way. But you celebrate, it's youth in a way, but it's not youth, it's age. And the way you both represent that and celebrate it by your paintings, Alice, they're just so vibrant. You create life. And you've got these wonderful character faces of older women. How did you just settle on picking this one genre of art?
Well, I looked at myself in the mirror one day and I freaked out because I noticed all the lines and wrinkles and sagging skin.
You don't have that.
Oh, yes, I do. But I was 58 at the time and it was starting. I was really starting to notice it, and I freaked out and I started getting afraid. And I started just thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. What am I going to do? I've got lines and wrinkles and sagging skin. I'm old. What's it going to be like? And I decided, instead of going insane, that I would explore aging through my art, and I decided I was going to. The first project I did, I decided I was going to meet women 70 years and older, and ask them what makes life worthwhile. And I did that. I embarked upon a quest. Richard and I went out and we met different women. It's real easy to find fabulous old women because there's a million of them around. So some of the people were people I knew. Some of the people were people I read about in an article. You know, one of the people I painted was Betty Friedan, who was the
Oh, wow.
I just painted some wonderful people, and I did 21 portraits of women. And asking him that, and it was beautiful because as I sat there and painted them, I could really imbibe their wisdom, and I could look at the beauty of who they were. Their lines and their wrinkles, and their sagging skin was just the story of their years. It was just who they were, and it didn't make them less beautiful. It just gave them character. And you know, when you get older, you start to look at beauty in a different way. It isn't about the surface. You know,
No.
like when you're younger, you're more concerned with the surface, but when you're older, it has to do with who you are as a human inside, you know, and just the energy that you have, the life force that you have, just that kind of a thing. That's where the beauty is.
You would love my students. Their average age about 85.
No kidding.
The oldest one is 107.
Yeah.
And they're just full of life. I mean, they really are at that stage, and you probably experienced that.
Well, I did.
They're comfortable.
You know, I painted Beatrice Wood.
Oh,
and I painted
Mama,
her
Dada.
at 105, 9 days before her death. But I interviewed her. Also, I painted her at 100 years old, and she told us when we talked to her when she was 103, and she said to us, she said, "I'm 103 years old, but I've never been happier in my life."
And she meant it.
And she meant it, and it was a beautiful statement. You know, you think that when you get old, you're just going to be miserable because you're old, but no, that isn't what it is.
Not if you're happy inside.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a satisfaction inside of knowing who you are and identifying of who you are, and just it's a comfortable place to be. I mean, I look in the mirror. You probably do this too. I look in the mirror and I see my mother's face, and I go, but you know what? I've never been more at peace, and it's a contentment about age that comes just with the aging process. You can fight it, and you can go get, you know, how much plastic surgery, like my crazy daughter-in-law, but I look in the mirror and I go, oh yeah, that's the face you got, and boy, that's not too bad. You know, you look pretty good for your age.
You don't have one wrinkle.
I've got plenty of wrinkles.
Do
Yeah,
not.
69. But I feel it's in here.
Yeah.
It's not the visage, and that's a completely different thing altogether. It's what you earned and who you are, and what you give back. I think it's mostly, and you give back. Both of you give back by doing this. I know you get satisfaction in doing this, and because you're enormously successful. I mean, you're nationally known. I mean, this is a big deal. But it's what you give these people back. You celebrate the age, and you do, Richard. You do the sculptures of men, and they're aging as well.
It's very different. Alice looked for the positive, and I looked at the negative. I was afraid of getting old, and so I tried to almost caricature my fears of getting old. So like old decrepit men, and somehow in looking at that, it made it easier for me to embrace the aging.
Maybe it was the process of just getting comfortable.
Well, you know, when you're an artist and you're working on the wrinkles, and it's so interesting. It's so much, as Alice says, you know, working on a young face is like sculpting or painting a tennis ball. But working on an old face has character and a whole body.
So when you're both working on pieces, you know, people like you're actually having a conversation of somebody you're painting, correct, as you're painting them. Do you have discussions about life and where they've been and what they've done? I mean, or do you think about that?
Well, I actually work from photographs because people don't like to sit for more than 5 minutes.
Sit.
But they've all been interviewed. The Women of Age, which was the first project, I interviewed all the women, and we actually videoed most of them. We started off doing audio, and then we thought, no, we should video these, and we did. So I asked them what makes life worthwhile, and talked about them. We just talked about their philosophy on life and why. Because I was interviewing women who I wanted to be like, who were like great role models for me, people that just were living their life with creativity, with joy, just with generosity of spirit. And this is what I wanted to be as I grew older. I wanted to be like that. And so they were a great inspiration. And
Was there a common thread?
Yeah, they all were happy people. They all were kind of ageless beings. They all were living their passion. And sometimes their passion was knitting. It didn't really matter what their passion was, but there was something that they felt that they felt good about in life. And none of them were afraid of dying, which was very interesting. They all just, figured then most of them were just in fact, all of them were living their lives in the moment. And they were just ageless beings, and it was wonderful. And I was so lucky to have met these women. And so when you're sitting at home painting in the studio for hours at a time, and you're painting their face, and you're thinking about what they've said, it kind of like you kind of imbibe what they say, and you realize that people who are older are just a volume of great experience, and they have so much to teach and so much to share. And it was just beautiful, When I turned 70, it was like precious. I was so happy, 70 was such a fabulous age to turn. Freedom, yeah. It's a great age to turn, and I feel really grateful for everybody that I've met.
It's interesting how that evolves, because I think, you get to a certain stage and you're so much in fear because, when you're younger, you don't have a body of experience and you don't have a body of soul.
Right.
And then when you get, I don't know what the magic number is, and it's probably different for everyone, but you hit this magic number and all of a sudden you go, whoa, wait a minute. You wake up and you go, no big deal, I die tomorrow, no big deal. I've done what I wanted to do. I'm happy with who I am. Mm-hmm. I've created, whatever I've created, whether it's a body of work, it's a piece of art, or maybe writing like you write as well, right? When did you start writing?
Actually, we started writing in this book, which is our art. This is actually
you got some prizes on the outside of that.
We won 2 awards on it.
These are a big deal.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that big a deal. Congratulations.
We had done all this work for like 15 years of art. And someone says, you ought to write a book. And we said, okay, we'll do that. And we did.
And you just sat down and did it.
We sat down and did it, sent it off to a publisher. The first publisher we sent it to said, I want to publish it. And
you know how miraculous that is?
That's crazy.
It is beyond crazy. People don't do that. I know people that have written, I consider decent, because I read a lot of people's galleys, and some of them I'm going, But for somebody to accept it the first off, that's pretty amazing. So I think you write with spirit. Knowing the two of you, you write with spirit and soul. Yeah. I mean, it has to be genuine and can't be manufactured. I mean, I read constantly. I'm currently reading 22 books.
No.
Yeah,
how do you keep?
It's easy for me. I've got one of those brains that I can put down a book and I can pick it up in another year from now, and I can tell you exactly. I'm back in it and exactly at that same spot, and I've got a kind of a goofy brain, but and it's comfortable for me. But I'll read just so long, and okay, let's change the genre, and they're all genres pretty much. The only one not interested is probably sci-fi, but everything else, I go through a self-help phase, like a mystery phase, lately I've been, I went through all the classics. I mean, I read what was it? Will and Ariel Durant's Age of Civilization. Oh, yeah. It took me 2 years to plow through that baby. That was a long haul, but boy, did I learn. And again, like you, and I know you, that you're both students of life. And your curious nature, and I think that's what keeps us all alive to a certain degree, is just keep on wanting to learn, and the experience of lifelong learning and giving back and doing. And you do a lot. I mean, you know, you guys are like celebrities, and you know, I walk down the street, and you know, you kind of light up the sidewalk. Last time I saw you guys do this was probably a year ago. It was probably in an art walk, and you were just walking. We were going one way, you were going the other way, and it was the same thing. It was kind of like, you're just both different. And I'm not meaning to blow up smoke or anything, but you guys are just totally different from any of your contemporaries, and I'm sure you hear that. People aren't like you guys.
I don't agree with you.
You think people are like you?
I think that in terms of our love,
Yes.
we're not the only ones.
You're
and
unique.
We have a very deep love. But other people do too. I mean, we could name others that are as deeply in love as we are.
Then you're very blessed by knowing those people in your life.
We choose those.
Okay, maybe that's more the point. I mean, John and I go out to dinner, and we're sitting there, we're engaged in a conversation. We don't even know there's anybody else in the room. I mean, there's never ending subjects, right?
There aren't anyone else
Yeah,
in the room.
exactly.
They're all on their
Exactly. Yeah, nobody's talking. I mean, that's another thing. The art of conversation's gone. I mean, everybody's on their phones, or what they're doing is checking something on Facebook, or whatever they're doing. But it's interesting because I think we're really, you know, we grew up in a time where conversation was really important, and sharing one's views was really important, and maybe learning was different at that period of time too. And I just see all of this it's just not there anymore, and I get really sad when I see that. We're losing so much by not having these intimate relationships with other people. You know, I don't have a lot of close girlfriends, and it's mostly probably because John and I have our relationship, and it's kind of exclusionary, but our family's there. It's different ways we all grew up, and I think the family core is so important too. And I mean, and especially since you work together, live together, you share the same soul. And do you ever collaborate on a piece besides the books? Besides the book? Do you ever?
Sometimes Alice will come over. I'm sculpting. Alice will come over and say, "This needs this." And,
So she will.
And sometimes I'll put a few strokes on her painting. So it's you know, it's we do that. We do that because our vision is very similar.
That's so unique that you were able to find each other in this. I'm just stunned.
Well, we're not in competition with each other at all. You know, we're just totally supportive of each other.
See, that's something that's unique right there. Even some of the closest couples I know still compete, and that's difficult for me to understand. How can you compete and do that? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Maybe that's just...
Well, we feel like we are one. So
you are.
If I'm competing against
with
myself.
yourself. Yeah. Correct.
And if she wins, I win.
Correct.
If she's happy, I'm happy. So, you know, I try to spoil her.
One.
He wrote a whole book about our relationship.
Let's see the book.
Hold up your book.
Let's see your book, Richard.
And he just won an award on it. It's not on the book yet, but he just
What did
won
you
a
win?
Nautilus award.
The Nautilus Award for...
Nautilus is a big deal, Richard.
It is a big deal, yeah. For...
Finish the sentence, Alice.
For books that promote spiritual growth, conscious living, and positive social change. And we got a Nautilus on Art of Aging also, and an IPPY. But he won a Nautilus on this, and it is, I have to say, if I can talk about the book.
Yeah, I want to hear.
I mean, it's about our relationship, and you should talk about the book.
It's about our relationship.
Yeah.
But it's about love.
Yeah.
And what I did was I looked back at our relationship and tried to tease out what it was that made it work. And I discovered 39 aspects of love and put those in the form of promises. Promises that you make to yourself, not to your partner, because you're the one that creates the relationship. You know, that's an essential part of the book, is that you, by the depth of your love and the depth of your generosity and caring, can be a catalyst to bring that out in your partner.
Did you both grow up similarly, or?
We were born in the same hospital. We lived
We lived in the same neighborhood. We didn't know each other. We probably were at the same places at the same time, except I'm a few years older than he is.
That's really interesting too. And you found yourself here.
right here. Here we are.
Yeah, it was meant to be.
Oh, it was totally meant to be. And Richard was married 3 times before me.
Got it right, Richard. Good
Well,
job.
I
Good
didn't
job.
get it right before.
Good job,
but
this
I
one. Good
learned.
job on this one.
But I'm very grateful to all his other wives because they
Sure.
by the
Trained
time-
him.
by the time- yeah, exactly. They trained. By the time I got him, he was perfect.
I was beat down.
He was perfect.
That sounds like our family. But it's so unique. You just both shine. I mean, and that's sincerity from me. I
Well-
mean, you're so different.
What happened is that we fell in love, and it was like this. And the changes that happened in our life, she picked up her brushes after how many years was it?
21 years I hadn't painted.
And so our love created this creativity. I started playing drums again. I started sculpting, and it was the love that was the catalyst for our creativity.
You both are, you're so uniquely different. Alice, I noticed on the website too that you've got some like big time, you're in the Smithsonian?
I have 2 paintings in the Smithsonian.
My God, girl, that's huge.
Yeah, one of Beatrice Wood at 100, and one of Betty Friedan, Betty Friedan has been hanging for about 5 years, or 5 or 6 years, in a permanent exhibit there called Search for Justice.
How do you get in the Smithsonian?
Well, I started off with Beatrice Wood. I was teaching a class in my studio, and one of my students said, "You want to send that painting to the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery?" And I went, "Okay." I didn't think about it. And I went in and I typed a little letter. Richard walked in. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to send a picture of Beatrice Wood to the Smithsonian." He goes, "Oh, very funny, haha." And I said, "Hey, what do I have to learn? What do I have to lose? A stamp, an envelope,
Yeah.
And so I sent it off, a little 4x6. They weren't sending things digitally then, little 4x6 picture of Beatrice Wood. And about a week later, my students were in the class with me, and the phone rang, and it said, "Hello, this is the curator of the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery. We love your picture of Beatrice Wood, and we're interested in seeing it." So the next thing I knew, after I hung up the phone and screamed, like
Yeah,
this, I couldn't even
right.
believe it. They sent a truck over with guys with white gloves in a refrigerator truck, and they
Oh,
took the
my
painting over and
God.
it went through committee, and they bought it for the permanent collection. And it hung in the Smithsonian. That one hung for 6 months, and then it traveled for 2 years in an exhibit called American Women. And then the curator said, "If you ever paint anybody famous again, let me know." So I painted Betty Friedan. So I called her up. I said, "I painted Betty Friedan. The same thing happened. The truck, the white gloves, the refrigerated thing, the committee, they bought it."
Amazing.
So that's how it happened. And a lot of things have happened for us and for me. I never left home. I never did it. It just happened.
They come to us.
It just came. It was just beautiful. Everything that's happened has just kind of come to us.
It's magic.
It's
It's magic, but it was
Yeah.
meant to be.
Well, we've been in the right place in the
two-
right time, and it's all a matter of
You're
timing.
just walking through. It's already done.
Yeah, it's been, so I've got this wonderful biography there that blows my mind.
I'm just, I knew you guys were fantastic, but when I started reading the website, I'm going, holy crap! I didn't know they were that big of a deal,
We
right?
didn't either.
But maybe that's the best part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was-
So you
That's true.
don't get, when you do things like that, you're just grateful.
Totally
but,
grateful.
But you step aside from it and
Exactly.
you don't identify with it to a certain
No.
degree because you just want to stay humble.
Exactly.
And that's what it's all about too.
Yeah.
And it's giving back again. And you, with your sculptures that I was just fascinated by, that one of that naked old man that's in
There's been a lot of
repose.
them.
Have you done a lot of them?
Yeah.
There's a whole series of naked.
How
old
many
men.
did you do?
I
There's
don't know.
12 of those.
Something like that. Yeah.
They're beautiful.
They're all in the book, all the naked
They're so
old men.
beautiful. They're, I mean, just You're uniquely different. Both of you, and it's just meant to be. I just, I was telling all my friends this week that I was going to be interviewing. I was so excited because I said, I know they're a big deal, but I didn't know they were that big of a deal.
Not a big deal.
But then I realized, like the woman of age, and your work is just beautiful, and the lovers.
Those are beautiful.
That's another thing. I think it's really important. When people, they see an old couple walking down the street, maybe
Don't you
holding
just love that?
hands.
Well, you
And
guys do that all the time.
We do it all the time, but people say, "Oh, how cute," but they don't realize that older people are sensual.
Yes.
And so these sculptures are old couples in loving embrace, and it's shocking to people, but it's the truth. We do need touch, and we do enjoy touch.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. So that's what that series of
They were
sculptures is about.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow, guys.
And we think each other is beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, you're each other's biggest fans.
Yeah, we are.
Well, where can we find your work besides in your lovely living room?
Well, Amazon.com has our
Okay.
books.
So we will
And
find you on
that's a place,
Amazon.com.
Smithsonian.
Buy the book, Smithsonian, if you ever get there.
National Portrait Gallery. It's a great.
I'm going to wait till
beautiful-
this administration bails out before I go there.
Oh, I've got a show going, but won't be there.
Where?
Farmer and the Cook. I just hung
Oh, yeah.
a little retrospective there.
Okay, because
Yeah.
we go up there to eat.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on and making me very happy today. I mean, this is like a dream for me. I mean, I'm just been so enchanted by you both for all these years. And when the first time I met you, you just had this incandescent thing going on that it was undefinable or indefinable.
Well, that's
It's
so
hard
nice of you to say.
No, for people that know me, they know I'm pretty genuine. I mean, I usually tell you how I feel. If you don't like it, too bad. But thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for
It's a
inviting
Thanks
us.
pleasure.
for
It was
always
so
being
sweet.
there. Hey, it's great to see you guys. I miss
Good
you.
to see you.
So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week with some more surprises. And remember, keep your eye on Washington, guys. This is not good. It's going to be changing, I hope. I said 200 days on January 21st, and I still mean it. 25th Amendment. Pay attention. Thanks for being here.